Alright everybody, so what we have here is a routing template that we offer. This is going to allow you to take, for instance, your single coil slanted bridge position pickup and route that out for a humbucker, for a double coil pickup. So what we're looking to do, what we're trying to achieve here, a lot of people, they will tend to try to eyeball and use their router to go ahead and make the cut for the humbucker itself. They'll go too far in multiple directions. You could go too far this way, you could go too far this way with your cut, too far that way, or too far that way with your cut, then you have to. This template is going to allow you to get a very precise, centered cut right where you need to have it. It doesn't take away any more material than what you need. So to get down to it, what we're going to look to do to start with is we need to know that we have a router, that we have access to a router. I suggest, if you can, get a plunge router if you don't already have one. A plunge router is going to allow you to adjust your different depths as you need. And you're going to need to have some painter's tape. You're going to want super glue. And for your router, you're going to need a pattern routing bit. And what makes a pattern routing bit is just the fact that it has a little bearing right here that can stay right up against whatever template that you're using. I'm sorry, this is out of focus here. It can stay right up against whatever template that you're using, and it will ride along the template and then cut almost the exact same diameter of this bearing right below your template. So in this case, this is going to be our final template that we're going to use right here. I'll show you how this is going to work. But this bushing is going to ride along the inside of this and give you your exact cut. So those items are going to be what you need to get this thing going. So what we'll do is we'll start with this piece right here. So I've designed this to fit the exact same dimensions in this case. So this is a, by the way, Fernandez RC50 Stratocaster copy guitar, and it's in all its glory. It's got plenty of surface scratches. You're going to see that here in the lighting, of course. Please ignore those best you can. It is what it is. It's an old guitar. It's a guitar from the 80s. It's been used. And we're going to utilize this that's modeled specifically for this route right here to install ourselves, in this case, the Lawrence L500 series pickup. That's a double coil humbucker pickup. So what that looks like, by the way, I'll reorient this back down here for you for a second. Looks like that. That's the pickup that we're going to be using. So you can see how beefy that is on the back side here. Bigger than a single coil pickup. You can't just mount this to your pick guard and go ahead and drop it right on in without removing this material here. So we're looking to clear out a route in this cavity for this pickup. And by the way, we do sell, just as you see right here, is a perfect cut going around the outer perimeter of this humbucker. We sell a template that I've also designed that you can take a a pick guard just like this one. This one happens to be a 3-ply pick guard, but it doesn't really matter what you're using. And you can snap it right in to the existing screw holes. And then now you have yourself another pattern for doing a route on the actual pick guard for that pickup. So we offer this for other types of humbuckers, other types of pickups in general. But to get down to it, what we're looking to do right now is start off with this first piece here. This is basically the alignment piece. It's chamfered. You're not going to be able to probably tell in the video very well at all, but it is chamfered to help self-center itself right down here in the body. So you don't have to really push down. You can maybe just give it like a slight smidge and you'll feel it kind of click into place just a little bit. Don't put a lot of force on because you don't need to, so it's going to make it harder to remove later on. And then you're going to take this spacer right here. So the spacer is going to pop right over around that first piece we dropped down. And before we go and install this piece right here, which is actually going to be our template for the router, we're going to be able to look at this and see that this is going to be what our area is going to look like that we're going to be routing out. The outside perimeter of this yellow area is exactly where our cut's going to be. So you can see we're not coming too far close toward the bridge, toward any of the other areas, which you have a little bit meat to work with around these other areas. Well, I'd say from here around, but you don't want to remove too much material getting too close to that bridge. But this will give you that precise cut that's perfectly centered over the existing hole, so you're not routing out too far in any one direction, resulting in a perfect cut. So we can see with this last piece here, it would just slide right over top of that. And that's what gives us ultimately our pattern, our template for the guide to route out for this new humbucker that we're going to install. So what we need to do before we go and actually set this down permanently is take this bigger piece here. We're going to use our painter's tape, cut it at least as long as this area is of the template, and we're going to go on each of the long sides. We're going to come up close to the inner perimeter with the tape. It's okay to have just a little bit of reveal. You don't want to bring the tape over past the edge. You don't want to have blue hanging out past the yellow, basically. But you're going to want to lay that down just like that. We're going to do the same on the opposite side of the template. We're going to run this edge closest to me right along this edge right here. And then we're going to do the same on the body of the guitar. And what we're doing here is to allow for us to adhere the template to the body of the guitar without doing it directly to the body of the guitar. Why would you want to risk, moving your route around and your template sliding around, scratching up your guitar? You don't want that. So this is going to allow you to do a clean removal of everything once it's done. You're not going to have glue on your guitar, or you're not going to have scratches on your guitar as a result of the template moving around. So same thing over here. We're going to come right up against the yellow, pretty close. We don't need to overlap into it, but we certainly don't want to leave gap coming this direction, because that leaves room for the super glue to potentially seep out into that area right there, which can mean a couple things. It can make this piece right here become glued to the spacer. You can also get something glued to your guitar body that way. You got to be careful. So we have these pieces now. What we're going to do is we're going to take our super glue and we're going to apply. If you look here in the light, you can see where there's, in the darker shades here, this is where the plastic is for the template. We don't want to go beyond in any one direction. We don't want to go beyond the edges of the body we see here over the tape. So we'll take a few different drops here. We'll do 3 drops per side. That's all I need to do. Doesn't have to be perfect, but put 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. Same thing over on this side. Try not to get too close to this edge though. Otherwise, like I said, when the super glue spreads here in a second, you might find it adhering to something. But something like that, that's all we need. So if you see that, I'm going to set this down for a second so I can cap the super glue so it doesn't dry out or get spilled. And then now we're just going to take this, we're going to flip it over. We can try and hold the tape up with our fingers without getting super glue on our fingers, hopefully. Let's keep our fingers away from the very edges of this. And now that we've set that down, what we can do is we could press firmly. And then we're going to get this tape to adhere to the other tape. So this is going to allow our template to stay nice and in place while we're moving our router across it here in a few moments. Won't scratch up the guitar. It's going to allow for clean removal when we're done. What we're going to do is we're going to peel the tape. But what you do now that you've adhered this down, you'll pull out the first piece we put down, set it aside, pull out the spacer, set it aside, and now all this green reveal of the body we see right here, that's what's going to get removed, and that is perfectly centered this direction and that direction over the existing single coil pickup cavity. So again, we're not removing more material this way or that way or any other direction than we need to. Now what we do have to be careful with is to not cut too deep into this cavity. We don't want to remove more material right here than we absolutely need to. So what I would do is measure out the back side of your humbucker. I would trim down your screws. I don't know if you can see this very well, but if you can see the screw sticking out right here, I've already trimmed it down. These screws come pretty long. You don't need to cut the depth of this cavity as long as your screws, because then you're going to have no material left. You might run right through this hole completely all together through the other side. You don't want to do that. You don't want to make this piece right here, this surface, paper thin. So trim this down as small as you can, within reason, knowing that you need to still have room for your wiring and whatnot underneath here. And in this case, with this L500, I've decided that I want to leave about 24 millimeters. I've actually measured it out with a caliper. 24 millimeters in depth beyond the face of the guitar body. Beyond the face of this, I need to go 24 millimeters deep. And you might need to go shallower, you might need to go deeper. Just again, be careful with how deep you are cutting.